Welcome to the last week of our lecture series on HCEI. So the title today is HCI for Socialization. So let's first look at these concepts, and later on, since this is the last week, I will give you some topics for the future, like the grand challenges of HCI. So points for you to think about if you are interested in pursuing HCI in your projects next year. And finally, I will discuss a few questions that you should think about related to this course. Socialization is a key component of education. It is a socially constructivist experience, and the socialization within a classroom has been shown to take several elements, including involvement, knowledge acquisition, and investment. So, although students in an online setting have no physical contact, the importance of active and collaborative learning remains. So, learners who are able to feel comfortable and familiar with their teachers and peers embrace and share information more willingly. So, facilitated by instructors, socialization can appear in the form of posting biographical information within a class and using discussion forums and group activities in an online class. So, research has shown that social interactions can be facilitated through the instructional methods of the instructor. So then they can help learners avoid feeling isolated. So this is really important in an online class and any distance education method. So having this sense of community is critical to engage in students and creating new knowledge. And there are occasions of learning and education which are social practices, so which are especially for some subjects you have to be in contact with the people in the practice. So socialization is the ability of learners to identify with the community and build meaningful relationship. So especially in practices where you are working with people, say like being a lawyer, being a teacher, you have to be with that community. So it's important that you develop those social aspects as well. Okay, if we start with this concept of socialization. So, socialization refers to the process by which an individual comes to appreciate the values, abilities, expected behaviors, and social knowledge essential for assuming an organizational role, for participating as an organizational member. Right, so this is the textbook definition of socialization that we are referring to. Right, so it is a process, okay, by which an individual, okay, some individual person, so it can be a student or it can be a staff member, right, will come to appreciate the values, abilities, expected behaviors, and social knowledge, right? So these, it can be a new student in a school, right, or it can be a new staff member at a school or a university. So they are expected to have some values, right? Appreciate the values. Say for some, say the school, right? They have to appreciate the values of the school, right? The abilities, they should have some abilities, and expected behaviors are there. So the student should know what is the expected behavior. So like in say some schools, students have special dress code. Others schools might have a different uniform, right? So there are small expected behaviors. In some schools they are stricter on the attendance and coming on time and things like that, right? So same thing in lectures, right? Some lecturers are particular about the time, that you arrive at time exactly, and then others are not that strict. They are lenient, right? They allow everyone to come and go, right? So normally in the university, like how the variations can be, right? So there are very strict people and lenient people as well. So anyway, when it comes to the organization, right, there is something written down, right? So about punctuality, about the values, right? Embracing the diversity, right? So like it is one thing to say it and like doing differently, yeah, but normally socialization is means that this person appreciates those things, right? Then there should be social knowledge, right? Social knowledge is how to behave in a given situation. So all these aspects can be translated to the online situation as well, right? So in contrast to the conventional work organizations with their human resources departments, handbooks and training, most volunteers in online production communities are left to sink or swim on their own, right? So now the difference here is when you have online situations. Now offline situations, of course, there will be people to guide you, right? So there are subtle things you pick up from the non-verbal conversations, right? But if everything is online now, as we did in this course, right? So we started online and everything was online. You didn't really come to the faculty, to the university, right? So in this kind of situation, the student, so in this case, if you are referring to some online work environment, right? There are, like these days, there are people working online, right? They start the job online, they work online, right? So everything is done online. So in that kind of situation, there might be few things such as a maybe handbook, right? Some note might be there. Then other than that, the individual is left to sink or swim on their own, right? So some will succeed, some will not. So in large peer production communities, okay, the large peer production communities have relied almost exclusively on individualized socialization techniques. Okay, so individualized socialization techniques are the ones that they have relied on, okay, which is the on-the-job training kind of thing, right? So you start on your own and you get the feedback from others, and that individual gets training. So this is typically requiring users to figure out what they need to know in order to contribute to a project, right? So this is really going blindly kind of thing, like without getting the proper feedback. So there is currently little theory or empirical research to support the design of successful socialization processes in such communities. So there's a big gap in the theories as well, right? Because these are just emerging technologies, right? Even though HCI has been there for a few years now, but the socialization aspect, like the fully immersive work environment, right? And things like these real virtual environments, okay, that we talked about last week, are only just emerging. So the socialization aspects are only rarely studied. So, as we mentioned, there aren't many theories that we can apply to these contexts, but one thing is the situated learning theory. So, it states that the learning environment has an effect on the way a learner draws upon or makes sense of the learning material. So, this was proposed in 2006 by Irwin and Birch. So this theory holds that instructional practices are used to promote community within the classroom through social interaction among students. And social interaction is a key component of socialization and an important part of effective online facilitation as well. So to further foster social interactions, instructors can employ three social instructional criteria such as active learning, purposeful interaction, and meaningful evidence of acquired knowledge. So these instructional practices help distance learning, avoid devolving into an online correspondence course, and they enhance the perceived proximity, like it makes you feel that the teacher is close to you among the students and between students and the instructor. So it makes you feel closer to other students and the instructor as well. So these instructional elements cannot be present without a socialized foundation, and therefore active learning cannot take place. So active learning cannot be done if you are not socialized enough, right? So these instructional elements first require you to do the ice breaking activities to bring everyone into some closeness, right? So active learning can be facilitated through the use of open-ended questions, as they provide opportunities for students to engage in open dialogue with each other, and social interaction and enhanced social presence exhibited by open communication, free expression, and group cohesion occurs when socialization is used. So when socialization is the foundation of instructional methods, group dynamics can begin to form and students may begin to perceive instructor proximity, right? So now in like when it comes to doing the group activities, sometimes like I don't group the students, like I let the students group themselves, like you might have seen. So there are these social elements take place, right? So it's important that these opportunity is given for socialization, right? So it is important to keep in mind with socialization that participating in these social units provides meaningful experiences and allows you learners to engage in the world and share perspective, right? So in the small group activities that we do with active learning, so it really promotes the deeper levels of learning, right? You will have meaningful experiences rather than just listening to an online lecture. Then there is this concept of communities of practice, which is fundamentally based on situated learning theory. It describes learning through active participation in shared practice of social communities. Unlike many classroom-based learning activities focusing on knowledge separately from the context in which it was originally developed and applied, situated learning theory suggests that knowledge needs to be presented and obtained in authentic context, and that learning occurs somewhat unintentionally through social activities embedded in those contexts. So although the original studies had like anthropological monographs did not provide a clear definition of this concept of community of practice and how they master particular skills and knowledge through a process of legitimate peripheral participation. Like you have to be in the center of the things to learn the concepts. So anyway, this new approach to understanding professional learning was further developed uh, in the 1980s and 1990 late 90s, and they argue that this community of practice consists of groups of people sharing common interests and desires to participate in and contribute to the practice of their communities at work, school, or even at home. So there are professional organizations looking after these communities, like even for teachers, there are communities of practice, right? So these are special interest groups, we can say. So it's important that these social aspects are nurtured to promote authentic learning and deeper levels of learning in any learning environment. There are examples that we can take from Wikipedia. Okay, because in Wikipedia, most new editors learn what to do through trial and error. That is by requesting help and getting the feedback, and by consulting help pages. So they learn what not to do when they receive warnings, advisory messages, or rewards from more experienced editors. Right? You might get angry comments and messages, then they learn. So in response to the decline of new editors in Wikipedia and the poverty of content that Wikipedia provides on some academic topics, right? On some topics, they don't have experts. No one is contributing. So the Wikimedia Foundation started a project called Wiki Education in 2010, and this foundation assumed responsibility for it in 2013. So WikiEd is a program that encourages university instructors to include Wikipedia writing assignments in their courses. So like we can do a project like that, right? So we can take a few topics that you are familiar with and do, like you can practice them in your lessons, right? So then you can moderate the entries made by the students. So in addition, unlike the standard practice in Wikipedia and the many interventions which bring in newcomers one at a time with little formal and structured socialization, this Wiki education program provided its participants a structured collective experience as newcomers. So it was like a class, right? The newcomers all in one class, and they are given structured instructions on how to edit and how to add new entries. So it's like they are students in a classroom. So Wiki includes features such as formalized tutorial and training modules, clear timetables, constructive guidance, and cohort support, which are all elements of institutionalized socialization. So it's like what happens in the school, institutionalized socialization, which is a process that integrates newcomers through a formalized onboarding program. So in our schools, in our universities, we have these orientation programs, which are the onboarding thing, right? We introduce the important places, introduce the important people, and where to get the help they require. So things like that are important, and they should be provided in a formalized way. So when it comes to the social interaction, they have measured social interaction in terms of the number of posts on students' user talk pages. So these user talk pages are Wikipedia pages designed for communication and linked to a user's account, where editors can leave each other messages. So when users receive a message on their talk page and are logged into Wikipedia, they see a notification on the top of each page they visit indicating you have a new message, like an email. So with a link to their user page, and editors who provided an email address when they first registered also receive an email notification that they have received messages.
So they are able to distinguish these messages based on their source, okay, whether it's a student or a non-student or editor, and the direction, whether it's from editor to the student or from student to the editor. So defining four different types of messages here.
So here we summarize some of the results from this case study. It indicates that the wiki education was a successful intervention for improving the Wikipedia, and as shown in this table, compared to editors who joined Wikipedia individually, those who joined this course, okay, uh, and Wiki Education edited more and improved articles more while the program was uh, underway. So in addition, the WikiEd program seemed to have long-term effects, so that the WikiEd students edited more and participated in Wikipedia longer after the program was over than did editors who joined Wikipedia in the conventional way at the end of the program. So these results are consistent with the analysis, like where they had conducted about like 70,000 students, and there are match controls, okay, and which are restricted to just the editors who made it at least one edit. And overall, during the 4 semesters examined in this research, students in Wikied added around 27 million words, more than in contained in 22 copies of various subjects, and contributed to more than 24,000 articles related to academic subjects. And these articles improved on average 0.25 points on the Wikipedia quality scale. So while articles edited by the within semester control group only improved 0.05 points. So these improvements are at least partially caused by the extrinsic motivations associated with the course assignments, where students try to improve their article to receive a good grade, while editors in the control group did not. However, editors in the control group presumably had their own motivations, including such extrinsically oriented motivations such as reputations, reciprocity, like giving a help to someone who helped you, right? Or the desire for self-development. So, as well as the intrinsically oriented motivations, including altruism and sense of belonging to the community, also helped keep the people together in Wikipedia. So this figure shows that the WikiEd program improved effort, quality, and commitment, and that WikiEd students exhibit a higher rate of continued participation than the random sample. But it also showed that group assignment has no effect with retention. So these results strongly suggest benefits from the structured recruitment and socialization of newcomers into online communities. So in addition to these WikiEd who edited more and participated longer in Wikipedia. So all these results suggest that WikiEd experience had long-lasting effects, even when the extrinsic motivation of participating for a grade was removed. So during the course, they got a grade for doing this, but after the course also these students continued what they did, most of them. So the authors experience using the WikiEd program in several of their own courses illustrates how the elements of institutionalized socialization incorporated into the program benefited students and Wikipedia. So these students later used the concept of involving Wikipedia. Okay, like they gave assignments to their own students to update Wikipedia, right? So The timeline provided by the WikiEd syllabus, laying out a sequence of increasingly difficult tasks, eased students into the Wikipedia environment. And then by trying out tasks in a sandbox, they were able to get generally supportive feedback from course instructors and fellow students before they posted their work publicly and risked negative feedback from more experienced Wikipedians. And even when negative feedback did come, they had instructors and fellow students to provide moral support and practical advice about how to handle harsh criticism. So, for example, when one student's new article was threatened with deletion, that student got useful advice about how to respond in article and how to use authoritative sources to respond to criticism. So when an established Wikipedian deleted a substantial portion of one student's update, the class responded with a morale boosting comments such as yes, some more citations would help, but this article has come a long way in a short time and keep up the good work. So that kind of remarks had come from another student. So similar student groups supported each other in dealing with feedback from the Wikipedia community. And in one case, when Wikipedians suggested that students integrate a new article into an existing one, the student team constructed an argument together to defend their position on creating the new article. So like that it's good to have an online community to support each other in these endeavors such as Wikipedia. These results we can see from this case study show that theory on the role of social interactions in the process of assimilation and interaction community is important, and by examining how communication among the members was associated with socialization effectiveness. So these results suggest that communication among cohort members, especially incoming messages from other classmates, is associated with an improved article quality. Then, however, receiving messages from established Wikipedia members did not seem to improve article quality. So this finding is inconsistent with the previous literature on organizational socialization, which showed that contact with established organization members is generally helpful in reducing newcomers' uncertainty about their job functions and providing them appraisal information about how well they are performing and making them feel a part of the organization. So usually when you're in a company, right, in the like physical presence, you get more supportive feedback from the people at the top. Okay, but here in Wikipedia, the established people were kind of bullying the newcomers. So this finding may be specific to the current context. Both prior research and content analysis in the current study suggested that in Wikipedia, established members are suspicious of and even hostile towards the newcomers. So in this environment, which is unwelcoming of newcomers, where newcomers' communication with each other may serve as a buffer against hostile communication with established community members. So in summary, we can say that even among the editors who made at least one edit, those who experienced the WikiEd program edited more, improved articles more, and participated in Wikipedia longer than those who joined Wikipedia in the conventional way without the structured socialization experience. So again, we highlight the importance of having a structured socialization experience in the online community especially. Okay, in the next section today, I'm going to discuss a few future interfaces and the grand challenges of So the natural question that a lot of people ask HCI researchers is, what is the next big thing? Right? Like one popular school of thought claims that future innovations emerge from advanced technology development based on like the Moore's law, which described the rapid increase in the chip densities, leading to a lot of faster and cheaper computers, okay, hardware developments. So leaders of this view believe that advances will come by developing new devices, especially those that are ubiquitous and pervasive, suggesting that they can be everywhere, cheap and small. Then a second theme is that these new devices will be wearable, mobile, personal and portable. Okay, like the Fitbits and the wearable technologies we have today. So suggesting that they can be carried by users at all times. And the third theme is that these new devices will be embedded, context aware and ambient, suggesting that they will be built into our surrounding and thereby invisible but available, right? So they will be available when needed and responsive to the user needs. So like sometimes we are not aware that there are computers around us, right? Like when you are using some electrical device. So these days with the IoTs and the ubiquitous computing, a lot of smart devices have come, right? So all these smart devices have their own interfaces, right? And the concepts of HCI can be applied. So finally, some of these new devices are labeled as perceptive and multimodal, suggesting that they can perceive user needs and allow interaction by visual, oral, tactile, haptic, gestural, and other stimuli. So, purpose of this generate innovations such as many medical sensors that monitor health, hidden detectors that protect from dangers, and entertainment devices that enrich experiences. And technology developments is a fertile source of new ideas and builds rich compelling scenarios. So the spread of user interface continues. So it may be used to lay out a set of grand challenges to steer
Microphone unmute.
You should be aware of the immense problems such as a growing human population consuming a lot of natural resources, the big cities requiring hours and the housing and transportations, and thriving families demanding education and safety. These are rising expectations that put pressure on the healthcare and the social systems. And there are national priorities that include economic development, political participation, civil rights, and balance between appropriate security and excessive surveillance, while pursuing open government policies that limit corruption and prevent waste. So, while addressing these problems, researchers, designers, and developers who recognize the aspiration of individuals, their desire to control their own lives, and the hopes to contribute to their communities are more likely to produce constructive products and services. And at the same time, these forward looking innovators will manifest their sensitivity to individual and community norms, respect individual differences, and observe ethical codes of conduct. So with these considerations in mind, we will look at these 16 grand challenges for HCI. Right, so the first will be advances from the new devices, especially those that are ubiquitous and pervasive, suggesting that it can be everywhere, cheap and small. And second one, that these will be wearable, mobile, personal and portable, so that users are always wearing them. And some of these are perceptive and multimodal, as we mentioned earlier, and they can give various types of feedback. So first grand challenge is to develop a handbook of human needs. So this is a current need because a contemporary and detailed handbook of human needs is not available. There are theoretical ones developed in the 90s, but looking from a human side, a handbook has not been written yet. So this kind of handbook would provide guidance and inspiration for designers in refining designs and inventing new tools or services. Then second one is a shift from user experience to community experience. So user experience designers have cleverly invented interfaces and processes that support work, communication and fun. Now the opportunity is to shift to community experience design. Social media participation, game theoretic mechanisms, and motivational strategies are needed to engage growing communities in constructive ways. So, for example, such as Wikipedia or citizen science projects that show what is possible with this community participation. But the common outcome of community experience design is insufficient response, raising the question of how to make more consistently successful outcomes. So this shift is mirrored in the theory shift from emphasis on micro HCI theories to macro HCI theories. And then the third challenge is refined theories of persuasion. So theories of persuasion could lead to more rapid progress in smoking cessation, obesity reduction, medication compliance, and cancer prevention. So a periodic table of persuasion strategies would chart the microstructure of motivation for designers who create applications for individuals, friends and family, colleagues and neighbors, and citizens and markets. So how to really persuade someone to make a change in their decisions. And then the fourth challenge is to encourage resource conservation. So we have growing needs of a growing population that will have to be trimmed by efficient strategies for reducing use of resources such as water, energy, while increasing production from renewable sources. So user interfaces and community engagement will play key roles in providing feedback that encourages winning strategies. Then the fifth challenge is to shape the learning health system. Right? Learning health system is a grand opportunity for HCI researchers and designers to help shape massive healthcare systems that support patients who are seeking wellness, clinicians delivering care, and providers eager to reduce costs while increasing the quality of care. So macro HCI thinking and big data analytic tools could provide insights at every level, which could be shared with relevant stakeholders such as hospitals, doctors, insurance companies maybe, but producing meaningful massive systems. So bottom-up strategies and policies, cope with malicious actors, and guide continuous improvement. So government participation is also needed. Then the sixth challenge is advance the design of medical devices. So researchers have been rapidly developing medical devices that go far beyond the current hearing aids, pacemakers, body sensors, and data recording tools. So as implanted insulin pumps, vision restoration systems, prosthetic limbs, brain-computer interfaces, and nano device mature, user interfaces to monitor performance, log activity, and enable appropriate controls will be required. So with these novel interface devices, we will need more advances to support these medical devices. Then the seventh challenge is to support successful aging strategies. So we have a growing population of older adults and we have to maintain their health and independence while aging is benefit from interfaces that collect data from sensors, encourage healthy diet and exercise, promote social connectedness, and enable balanced involvement from caregivers. So, how might the growing interest of the IoT help older adults improve quality of life and maintain their independence longer? Is another challenge for future of HCI. And the eighth challenge is promoting lifelong learning. So this is particularly important for education. So we have traditional education systems which are expanding to include online learning using MOOCs, professional just-in-time training, learning through games, and social learning of many kinds. So developing best practices for a range of ages, motivations, and cultures will help to make these systems more reliable and successful for large number of diverse users. So we have to stimulate rapid interface learning as well, which is our ninth challenge here. So having a multi-layer user interfaces can enable new users to become experts with basic features. Then users can control their progress to advanced features as needed. So having these multi-layer user interfaces also simplify the design for diverse users and users with disabilities. Then the 10th challenge is engineer new business models. So an existing business model give way to new ones, and user interfaces play a key role in ensuring success of peer-to-peer sales of products and services such as taxi rides, vacation home rentals, and task completion. So closer business to consumer connections and lower barriers to consumer collaboration also promise new possibilities if the user experience can be designed to promote trust, conflict resolution, and open feedback from consumer reviews. Then the 11th challenge is design novel input and output devices. An input continues to shift from keyboard to gestures, speech, and body movement. So traditional devices such as keyboard and mouse are giving way to new input mechanisms using, say, hand gestures, direct speech, okay, and body movements. So users will need reliable mechanisms to express their intentions. And expansion of tactile and tangible environments provide fresh possibilities. So there are still cameras and video cameras, 3D scanners, and sensors that can accelerate the capacity to record, analyze, and share rich data streams. So similarly, output devices also change. So output display diversity expands. So there are tiny haptic feedback devices that can give you vibrations, and ambient sound generators projected displays, and large public displays. These will challenge designers to provide information rates and content appropriately adjusted to current tasks. So transparent glasses, immersive goggles, ambient devices offer new possibilities along the spectrum of private to public presentation. 3D printing and novel fabrication methods will make possible the production of physical items such as jewelry, foods, large objects such as chairs, cars, and building construction companies as well. Then the next challenge, 12th one, is accelerate analytic clarity. So with the big data, right, big data movement is generating a high volume and variety of data whose analysis could lead to better understanding of invisible processes in business, community growth, decay, learning, or public health. So supported by well-integrated visual interfaces and statistical techniques, this better understanding could lead to more confident and bolder decisions that improve individual, community, and planetary welfare. Then another grand challenge is amplify empathy, compassion, and caring. So human relationships flow more smoothly when empathy is expressed for others in appropriate situations. Similarly, compassionate and caring actions make life better for individuals, families, and communities. So understanding and encouraging such behaviors could make life more hope-filled and satisfying for many. Then 14th challenge is security. So having a secure cyberspace where criminal activity and privacy violations threaten to undermine our user participation in every form of transaction, participation, political engagement, and tool usage. So designing for usable privacy and security will help ensure that benefits are retained, intrusions are minimized, and expectations of safety are realized. Then the next 15th challenge is to encourage reflection, calmness, and mindfulness. So novel interfaces that encourage reflection on past experiences and intended actions with a calm and mindful attitude could enhance life experiences, creative processes, and self-awareness. So reflection about life's challenges, the needs of less fortunate people, end-of-life decisions, and the digital afterlife, while difficult, could lead to comforting clarity. Then the last of the grand challenges is to clarify responsibility and accountability. So interfaces that clarify users' responsibility for their actions by making decisions and their outcomes visible and sometimes public could promote more appropriate behaviors with less overt bias or deception. While machine autonomy is seen as a goal by some designers, right, especially AI and machine learning communities, in many contexts the preferred approach may be to ensure human control while increasing the level of automation. So similarly, algorithmic accountability interfaces would allow users to better understand underlying computational processes in a search recommender and other algorithms, giving users the potential to better control their actions. So the final decision maker will be the human. So this is a summary of the future interfaces and the grand challenges. So if you are interested in doing further research on HCI related areas, you can use this as a guidance. Okay, next I have several review questions, okay, based on the lessons that we did cover. Okay, please note that these are not exhaustive list, and These does not mean that I'm going to ask the same kind of question at the exam. This is just for review, okay, just for you to practice. So these will help you remember the important stuff, right? So I'm not gonna discuss the answers in this forum, okay, since we have already covered things. So I will go through the questions quickly, and at the end, if you need any clarification, you can ask, right? So while reading out the question, you can think how to formulate the answer, or like if you have any doubts, you can put a question to the chat, or I will take up the discussion at the end. Okay, so the first one here is describe 3 populations of users with special needs. Then for each of these populations, suggest 3 ways current interfaces could be improved to better serve them. Right, so there are special need people like children, elderly, then visually impaired, then the hearing impaired people, so different communities such as that. Then suppose you need to design a system for users in 2 countries that are very different from each other culturally. What are some of the design concerns that you should be aware of to create a successful design? So say you are creating a system for, say, Sri Lankans and Chinese, right? So Chinese have a different culture, they prefer different colors, right? So you should be aware of the cultural things, right, and the language barrier as well. Then third one, in certain interfaces, it is necessary to inform users of an abnormal condition or time-dependent information. So it is important that the display of this information catches the user's attention. So suggest 5 ways a designer can successfully attract attention. So we mentioned these things in the lecture clearly, and you can give sounds and things like that. You can even vibrate to give a tactile feedback if you have a wearable available. Okay, so there are many ways, novel ways of giving that kind of catching the attention. Then name a piece of software you often use where it is easy to produce an error, right? So these are open-ended questions. There will be a lot of questions like these, right? So no specific correct answer, but you should explain and just follow the logic, right? So you can name any software that you use where you get a lot of errors, right, and explain ways you could improve the interface to better prevent the errors. Okay, so it can be anything. It can be something like say Word or Excel or PowerPoint, anything that you use. So it can be your LMS, right? You might press say Control S, but doesn't do what is intended, right? So something that like that based on your experience. Okay, there's no specific correct answer here. Then what factors should designers consider to address the needs of individuals with different physical abilities, right? So you have to be aware of people with different physical abilities like color blindness, short people, and various differences that are among humans should be considered. Then the next question, give a brief explanation of the 8 golden rules of interface design, right, directly from the slides. Then state an example you have seen on a device, computer interface, or website that violates these rules. Right, so first one is just checking your memory, right? No need to memorize because you will have access to the material. But then second part, application, right? You should be able to tell a application where the rules are violated, right? There are so many websites that violate these 8 golden rules, right? There are popular websites, okay, still they are successful, but they are violating the HCI principles. Then second question here, Don Norman suggests organizing screens and menus functionally, designing commands and menu choices to be distinctive, and making it difficult for users to take irreversible actions. So when you are doing irreversible things, such as emptying the recycle bin, again you have confirmed, right? So Norman also says to provide feedback about the state of the interface. For example, changing the cursor to show whether a map interface is in zoom in or select mode. So like when you zoom in, like you see the like plus mark sometimes in the cursor. So like that kind of things. Then designing for consistency of actions. When you are doing some action, be consistent to use the same interface tools. So example, ensuring that yes no buttons are always displayed in the same order, right? If you have presenting yes first and no second, okay, don't change it. Then state one example you have seen where you know these rules have been violated, right? Again, have to search a bit and find interfaces where these are violated. So although this is crucial to user interfaces success, suggests why there are many challenges to implementing some of these norms guidelines. So sometimes it's difficult, like theoretically we can say don't put the yes first, no first, no second, or like just be consistent. Sometimes we have to break these rules, right? So be mindful of these situations. Then clarify the difference among guidelines, principles, and theories. So it can be found in the book or the notes I have shared. Next question, what are some of the techniques that can be used to get the user's attention, and why is it important to exercise caution when using these techniques? So we asked the same question, the first part previously as well. So out of those, why is it important to exercise caution? Like if you take something like sounds or blinking letters, okay, if you do too much, it's gonna tire the brain and it will lose the effect. Because if an alarm is sounded all the time, you will just start to ignore it. Then what are the stages of forming explanatory theories as suggested by Don Norman? Okay, so you can read the book uh, or the note and describe that. They describe at least 3 different types of expert review methods. So we talked about expert review methods, and again just directly from the note. Okay, next one, one argument against the current interface design of a popular word processor is that it has all the functional menu items appearing together, which cause the interface to be too complex. So this complexity results in a confusing and frustrating experience for novice users. An alternative design is to provide different levels of functional complexity, so users can choose the level that is suitable for them, then advance to higher levels as they get familiar with the tool, thus feel more comfortable and learn more efficiently. So you are asked to conduct usability testing to compare these two designs. So there are two ideas here. One is to have everything in the menu. It can be applied to a, say, Microsoft Word. Okay, think about Microsoft Word interface, and which has a lot of menu items normally, right? So can you give a customized view where a basic user, the novice user, will only see the most important commands? So then you have to do a conduct a usability testing. Okay, you have to do a usability study and then conclude whether it is good or bad, right? You have to like describe the whole thing. Okay, next question, take a position on whether you feel user interfaces for work will remain isolated or if they will become more collaborative, right? What do you feel? Will the interfaces you see in the office systems like a MIS, right? Will it continue to be an independent screen? Okay. Will you feel comfortable if your boss can also watch what you are doing? Okay, like when you are editing a Google sheet, right? Other collaborators see which part you are doing and the changes immediately are shown, right? So present evidence to support your argument as well. Then how does collaborative filtering contribute to online marketing? Okay, do a bit of research on this concept of collaborative filtering. We only did a little tiny bit, and now online marketing, even though not directly related to education, is a big application of HCI, and education also require a little bit of advertising and marketing, right? So you have to make your courses popular at least. So it's good to have this kind of knowledge. Then differentiate the roles of face-to-face encounters and collaborative interfaces, right? Physical face-to-face encounters and the collaborations that we do online. What are the differences? The next question, explain the limitations and benefits of each type of communication. We have learned. Then explain how collaborative interfaces can improve or harm teamwork. Then explain how an interface designer can protect users of a collaborative interface from hostile or malicious behavior. So we discussed about having some moderator, okay, to or having a community support, okay, like in the wiki education example that we saw earlier today, right? There can be different ways of protecting the users. Then describe the challenges first-time users face when using an information exploration system. Then propose how these challenges can be overcome. Okay, this is on information searching section. You can look at the note and the answers will be obvious. The next question here, argue whether textual search interfaces should keep details of how the search is performed hidden from the users. Then decide which approach will allow the user to get more accurate results, right? And this depends on the decisions that you are making. So for particular decisions, it would be helpful if you can give more details when required, so you can justify or when informing your boss to do some make some critical decision making, right? Then describe a framework of 3 to 7 phases that will help to coordinate design practices to satisfy the needs of first-time, intermittent, and frequent users who are accessing a variety of textual and multimedia libraries, right? So maximum 7 phases. Okay, so describe a novel framework for these multimedia libraries. Then explain the strategy commonly used for searching multimedia archives. Then list the limitations associated with this strategy. So identify the current multimedia searching methodologies and list the limitations. The next question, describe a taxonomy of interactive dynamics that combine the analysis task with the practical operations that users need in their visualization tools of interactive dynamics that results in task types for data visualization. Then differentiate between tree data and network data. Right? Tree data and network data are different visualizations. So just do a little bit of search and differentiate the differences. Okay, such as tree data have one root, whereas networks don't have a specific root, but often the tree can be converted to a network and the network notation can be converted to a tree. Only thing you have to specify what is the node or the root, the starting point. Then describe three challenges data visualization researchers face when trying to build an interface and suggest solutions to conquer these problems. So if you go through the data visualization note, the last note we did, and then the solutions should be obvious. Okay, so that we have come to the end of the course. I will take any questions that you have from this point onwards. Okay, you can even chat. Okay, put the questions in the chat or you can unmute and talk. Okay, so let's see.
Okay, thank you very much for joining. If you have any questions about the course or the exams, you can ask now. Okay, so if you ready yourself for these review questions, okay, they have been based on the focus areas. So everything you have to study in depth. Okay, but you can use the review questions to focus. About the exam will be a structured question paper, no MCQs. So as I mentioned earlier as well, there will be open-ended questions, right? And I gave you the review questions today. So it will be similar, not the same questions, but similar questions. So the finishing date is today. So we have already finished. Okay, so we have covered the whole syllabus. So no need of having extra week. And you have exams, I think, from next week. There's one paper for you. Other subjects like those that started late, we will try to continue them to cover the full syllabus as much as possible, right? So those done by Professor Setunga and other visiting lecturers, we contact with them. They finish in the semester. So in the month of October, teaching will be finished, and for courses that don't have exams, we might continue, right? So Dr. Anuradhi will update you on that. right? So we are also trying our best to like cover the most of the syllabus as well, but without taking too much time. We also want to finish the semester within this academic year. Okay, so if you don't have any other questions, we can stop the session now. If you need any further questions or clarifications, you can always contact me through the LMS also, as well as directly emailing me as well. Right then, yeah, I all the